Good morning, and thank you for joining us for SJU today. As you may know, we chose not to publish over the last couple of days in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. Fandom as an organization has made a donation to the Southern Poverty Law Center, and in addition, our sister company, D&D Beyond, will be donating 50% of the profits from their new digital dice marketplace to Black Lives Matter through June 8th. We're really proud of our company for taking those steps. We want to be really honest and transparent with you. We 100% back this movement. With that said, we are not a hard news organization. We have not done the work, and we have not earned the standing of a movement. We support the people who have done that work and have earned that standing. For us, we're just a silly entertainment and comedy channel, and we love what we do, and we love what you guys, and we hope that we bring some entertainment and levity to your lives each day. And as individuals, we obviously have thoughts and feelings about the world. But for the most part, we talk about movies and TV, and we make fart jokes. So this is what we're going to say about this. There is no question for us that this is a moment in history that is one of absolute moral clarity. An innocent man was murdered as he begged for his life, and as bystanders begged for his life. He was murdered by the very people who should have been there to protect him. An innocent man was murdered, and it aired on national television, and only one of the men responsible has been charged. Hundreds of years of violence, injustice, and systemic racism have brought us to this point as a nation, and now we are facing a reckoning as millions of people cry out for long, long overdue change. The man was ruthlessly, cruelly murdered, and he was one, just one, in a long, long, long history and line of men, women, and children who have been murdered, abused, and suppressed in this country. We cannot personally claim, in all honesty, to be doing much to make the world a better place. But we stand by the people who are. We stand by Black Lives Matter, and we have links in our description for you to take action if that's what you choose to do at this time. Now I just want to open it up to our team.
Thanks for everyone. People have been reaching out. That's really great and really sweet. Thank you, and it is appreciated. It's been, it feels like this happens every like 3 years, and then everything goes back to normal. And this one does feel different, but it's hard, and I think we're all kind of, dealing with it and kind of coping with everything in our own way. I do want to reiterate, I think that it's so fantastic and so great, and I'm like honored that you guys want to hear my opinion on everything, and you want to hear what I think and how I feel. I'm doing that on my socials if you guys want to see that stuff, but it's not that I can't do that here. Like I don't want to. I do that on my socials so that I can do that like in my own time at my own pace, when I feel like I have something that I want to express, and because it's not all the time, man. Like this is really hard, and there are a lot of people who at the at the drop of a hat can be like, just go and like express and talk about all these things that happen to them. Man, I have no interest in I'm not that person who could just delve into like my Black pain immediately. So yeah, it's going to be something I talked about on my own when I'm in a space when I feel like I am at a place where I can do that. But thank you guys for that. Honestly, I'm really happy to have just like a half an hour out of this week to talk with my friends about very, very silly stuff, because I need that personally. This week has been a lot. I live really close to downtown. You will probably hear helicopters overhead as I'm doing this, because they live here now. So yeah, this has been something that's been personally really hard for me. I'm really happy to have a half an hour to sling these fart jokes. So yeah, really, really excited to do that actually. Hi guys, I missed you.
Let's sling these fart jokes. Yeah, if you
Sling them.
Do whatever you can, guys. If you can join a protest, join a protest. If you can give money, give money. If it's a tweet, wherever you're at, just make that effort.
Yeah, there's it's weird that it's so hard to participate in democracy, which are so daunting feeling, but there's a lot of tools now that make it very easy to get involved and figure things out. learn. There's 5 calls. There's Resist Bot. There's I just lost it. I just sent it to somebody. There's literally a website right now dedicated to how the city of LA government works. So if you feel comfortable calling, sending emails, there are a lot of resources online right now that'll guide you through that. That'll give you a script. That'll tell you who to call. That'll do the work.
Actually, there's for Black Lives Matter, they have basically links to help, and if you click, it will populate an email for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be more set up.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who've been doing this work for like a really, really long time who know what they're doing. And again, that's a thanks for everyone. People have reached out and said, well, what can I do? How can I help? Man, I'm a comedy writer. I know some things, but I'm not an activist. And there are people who have been in this work for like decades who already have the things that you want like written, and they've already done the work. Please go find those people, because that stuff is very, very valuable. And I think it's going to be way more valuable to you than me being like, oh, I've been too busy being all like sad and weird. I should like make a list. You should probably go to the people who know what they're talking about, who are like seasoned in this. So.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And thank you for sticking with me this morning. I'd be very transparent again. I'm super, super nervous and had to write something down so that I said what I meant. So I thank you guys. And we are going to talk about things that we somewhat know what we're talking about, we hope, a little bit, which is movies and television.
We've never pretended like we did before, Roth. I don't know why we're pretending like we do now.
Well, I mean, a little bit, within reason. We certainly watch a lot of it, so there you go. So we're going to recommend some things for you to watch at this time that may just delight and entertain you a little bit. So Danielle, you want to give your first pick?
All right, so my first pick for something that came out this year that I really liked, man, I like that Emma. I liked Emma. I liked it a lot. I not usually a huge fan of her books, but I love every adaptation I've ever seen. I love Pride and Prejudice. I love Sense and Sensibility. I love Clueless. Big Emma stan. In fact, I'm halfway debating having an Emma-a-thon sometime this summer where a bunch of people like just stream all of the Emmas. That might still happen. This is a story that's been told before a million times. Yes, this one does it differently. I would go as far to say this ain't your mama's Emma. It is like your Aunt Danielle's Emma, maybe. But I really enjoyed it, but I am just a huge sucker for that story. It's delightful. The direction is great. Everything looks amazing. And you've seen Emma. You know how the story goes. So that's one great thing. There's no jump scares. They took out all the jump scares in Emma. So now it's just the polite English people having polite English feelings. But it's delightful. So go watch that.
It's a movie that does a lot with little things. Like that movie is so just all about little moments, again, because it's about repressed English people trying to express their feelings. But just fingers brushing or glances across the room are just the stuff that makes this genre work, and this movie just uses them so well.
And the production design, Joe, the costuming, there are scenes in haberdasheries in this movie that will send you right to the fainting couch.
Oh, do you like a shoe?
Ooh, we've got tea cakes and pedophores aplenty here. If that's your thing, man, you're gonna be OD'd on cake frosting.
And if it's not, it should be. Like I argue that every Christopher Nolan movie would be improved with a haberdashery scene.
I was just gonna say, I think the word of the day is haberdashery. I would like us all to use it in a sentence somehow later in the show. Don't know how that's going.
I filled my quota already.
I will make a haberdashery of it.
Joe, what do you got for us? Which one?
What am I talking about? Just dumb jokes and puns normally. But today I'd like to talk about season 2 of Dead to Me, which is a fantastic second season of television. I did my best to not just rant about shows that I always rant about on here. Dead to Me is so good. It's just this meditation on being pushed too far and anxiety and being handed more than you're capable of dealing with. And it is presented by this incredible cast of actors. Christina Applegate is amazing on this show. Linda Cardellini is incredible. And of course, James Marsden is America's acting MVP. You know, he's just a cornerstone of some of my absolute favorite shows and movies. This is a great season 1, like laid out the tension really well, and season 2 is just this wonderful exercise in escalation, reaching just absurd soap levels, but still making it work because the performers involved keep it grounded and keep it focused and make it work so well. It's fantastic. Everyone has more to do. The cop side characters and detectives and stuff, everyone that was very ancillary in season 1 is suddenly so much more fleshed out and directly involved, and not just reacting and pinging off of the leads. The kids even get fleshed out. You know, in season 1, if I had one complaint, it was that the kids just feel like obstacles, you know, like, oh, what are we going to do? We've got to take care of this. But one of the kids has to go to the spelling bee. And the kids are written so well in this season as just these really fantastic fleshed out characters. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. If you suffer from a lot of anxiety and stuff like that, there will be some very challenging moments and very familiar moments for you, but it's phenomenal.
I binged that last weekend, the second season, Joe, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's a show that I worried about going into a second season because the premise had been so specific in the first season, and sometimes that's a hard thing for creators to wrestle with. And it shouldn't work because it's a little bit of a stretch what happened, right? I won't spoil anything, but the acting is so good and the writing is so good that we buy it. Spencer, what am I watching? I gotta say, the one person that I will 100% trust on a television recommendation always is Spencer. So don't fail me.
All right. I won't let you down here, Roth. I've got a couple. In fact, Ryan pointed out something that somebody said in the chat, and like, I think we'll all be killing ourselves. We'll be kicking ourselves, excuse me, if we don't mention how good of a season Better Call Saul had this year.
I'm not there yet.
So good.
God.
Lalo Salamanca, one of the all-time great villains in films or
It's so
TV.
good, it makes you mad. Like a little bit mad, right? It's like, that's how good it is.
But we talk about that show. Who said that in the chat? Gabe Cantor said, if Better Call Saul isn't mentioned in this, I'm unsubscribing. So I hope I saved us a subscription right there. But I'll talk about a show that maybe hasn't got as much press as Better Call Saul, which is just this thing on Hulu called Normal People. Normal People is did you watch it, Roth?
I started watching it last night, dude.
Okay. So yeah, it's off to a good start, right? These are
not sleep much.
Yeah. It's a horny show. I'm not gonna lie. If you're into like some good-looking Irish people having so much sex, this is the show for you. But it's a beautiful, very human, well-told romance that kind of it arcs over the course of years of their life. It starts out as a high school fling or like a secret high school love that they have between the two of them, and you know, it stays that way for maybe the first 2 episodes. And I'm like, I don't know if I can stay at this high school for 10 hours of TV, but it follows them throughout their young adulthood and like the ups and downs and the times that their paths cross and stuff like that. It reminds me of like the Before trilogy, the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, but with cute Irish people. They're just it's based on a novel, and you can tell that they're just such fleshed out and well realized characters. It's a grand romance, and I think it's a good escape right now. But still feels very real in that it's like that's exactly what it was like to be in love and to deal with sex and stuff like that in your teens and 20s.
Oh, God bless. You had a very sweet teens. So yeah, I will double down on the recommendations as always for Better Call Saul, which we've said many times is one of the best television shows in the last decade or more. And also I started watching Normal People as always. Spencer's correct. Fantastic. Highly recommend as well. I'm going to talk about a movie that I saw early in the year in a screening when we were still doing that. That was a smaller movie. It's very slow. I will warn everyone. And I think I talked about it a little bit before. But I do believe that at the end of the year, once we've seen some more movies, this will still remain one of my favorites. It's called First Cow. But yeah, it sounds like a joke. And it has funny moments in it, but I will give you the brief description. Literal wiki description is this: it's two travelers on the run from a band of vengeful hunters in the 1820s Northwest. They dream of striking it rich, but their tenuous plan to make their fortune on the frontier comes to rely on the secret use of a landowner's prized dairy cow. Now, sounds silly. It's fabulous. It is really, really, really a look at the idea and a deconstruction of the American myth, and the myth of kind of you can do anything and you can be rich, because it takes this moment when the land is so untamed, and it really does feel like anything is possible because nothing is solid yet. You know, the structures of society, ostensibly speaking, in that moment are open and fluid in a way that maybe they're really not now, ostensibly speaking. But at the same time, it's dealing with, even in these early days, immigration, racism. It's dealing with the actual constructs of economic constructs where this man has this cow but doesn't really need it or use it, you know, but does not want to share its fruits. It doesn't want to share the milk. And these other people that do need it, do know how to use it, are ingenious with it, but it's very, very dangerous for them. And their options are in reality quite limited. It's a freaking fantastic movie. I highly, highly, highly recommend First Cal, as silly of a name as it does have. Danielle.
A24, I've been trying to watch this, but I think it's A24. Whoever's distributing it, they were one of the ones that was like, no, we're not going to do VOD. This deserves to be seen in theaters. We're going to wait till coronavirus is over. So
yeah,
I get it, but also no.
Yeah, it does though. but where they're wrong is that just, I mean, and sadly speaking, just not a lot of people will go see it. I know that. I know that.
The title does sound like it is the cow of a president.
Yeah.
Like
I was gonna say like a Pixar movie.
I know it does. I mean, it's not. I'll be honest, it's really not a great title.
First Cow.
Unless it just confuses people to go to see it because they think it's a Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Secret Service, Sinbad. Your first assignment: protecting the president's cow.
Danielle, give me something good to watch.
So I did, I guess I only focused on stuff that came out this year. So really quickly, I'm just going to always give it up for Insecure. Insecure is having a great season. And right now it's really, they talk about the love stuff, but they also talk a lot about like friendships and what happens when it feels like people are growing apart or beyond each other. It's worth watching. But going to Netflix and to movies, and a movie that came out this year that I really enjoyed was The Lovebirds. I really like that movie. I have often lamented the loss of kind of these like mid-budget comedies in theaters. Issa Rae and Kumail, I will be very honest, to me, I didn't feel a lot of the romantic chemistry, but they have comedy chemistry, and that's all I care about, because it's more of a comedy movie than it is. I feel like because it's called The Lovebirds and it's about like these two people in a romance, people were really expecting it to be a romantic comedy. No, it was just a straight up comedy about a couple. So, but it's really funny. It reminded me a lot of Game Night, which is a show that no one on this show has been silent about how much anyone who's seen it really, really liked that movie. So yeah, go check it out. Obviously, Kumail Nanjiani is hilarious. Issa Rae is hilarious. And together, I want to see them in more things where they get to be funny and bounce off of each other, because their comedy chemistry is like through the roof. And yeah, and again, I just kind of, I don't know. I miss this specific kind of comedy, and it's one of those that happen to all in one night things, which is one of my favorite genres of anything. Is it's one crazy day, or it all happened over one crazy night. I love those so much, and this is one of those. So
I love that too, and I love those actors. So I actually haven't had a chance, shockingly, to watch this yet, and it feels like I'm saving it for when I'm at my lowest point. Don't know when that's going to happen.
First time.
Any minute.
Well, then you got to second guess if you're actually there, right? Like, is this it?
It's super funny. It's really good. But it ends with a cop being nice. So, be warned.
Yeah. Nope, that's fair. Yep.
Content warning.
Watch or beware.
Just I want to. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, Issa Rae. The cool thing about watching her that I have really enjoyed is she knows exactly like what her toolkit is as an actor. Like, she knows exactly what she's going to bring to the table and exactly what she's going to do, but she knows how to like click click it over just enough for whatever genre she's doing, whether it's whether she's got to be a singer in a murder hotel, or if she's going to be in a Stephen King weird dark procedural, supernatural procedural, or if she's going to do a romantic comedy. Like, she's her, but she knows exactly just sort of like how to adjust to just nail the genre she's in. I don't know. There's just something very interesting and like, oh, like when people are like, hey, kid, you've got it. Like, she has it. Like, there's just something so specific just to her that I just really enjoy watching.
Joe, I want you to give us another movie. But first, an important message from Joe about things.
Shall I thank the people for liking and subscribing and hitting bells?
I would thank you if you thanked them.
Very well, ma'am. Haberdashery. Hello. Thank you for joining our haberdashery here on SJU. Thank you guys for liking. If you haven't, please take a moment to do it. We really appreciate it. And subscribing and, hitting the bell, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for, spending, a half hour, 45, an hour, however long we make this one, of us talking about fart jokes. We really appreciate you being here. Like Roth said at the beginning of the show, there are a ton of links in the description of how you can get involved with everything that's going on right now with Black Lives Matter, with the movement. So if you choose to, like, there's plenty of options down there. Sorry, it just word vomited everything that's going on a little bit. It's been a long week in LA, but something that struck me as we were going live was that it's been everywhere. Every state in the U.S. And globally as well. I know this has touched, everyone in some way. So we've got a couple other things you can watch. We've got a watch this for Avengers that just dropped this morning. Featuring a thumbnail of several fabulous bald men who you can watch instead in lieu of the Avengers if you need more of that, like, assembling, just medicine in you. And then we've got an honest trailer for Twister, the best tornado movie of all time. So make sure you go check that out. Links in the description. Again, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you, Joe. Now, with that, Ryan is going to be gathering some suggestions from you guys in the chat about shows and movies that you've been enjoying in these last couple of months as well, these first few months of 2020. But in the interim, Joe Starr is going to give us a beautiful recommendation.
I am. It's another second season, and it's the second season of Kingdom, man. You need some zombie stuff to mix up all this love and romance we've been talking about. Man, Kingdom delivers the zombie stuff so well, and it's a period piece, so it's zombie movies. Usually zombie movies are in shot in a parking lot in Los Angeles somewhere, so that they all have sort of a similar look and vibe. Empty stadiums, burning cars, this and that. And Kingdom, like, just the change in time period changes up the whole thing. And the first season had some of my favorite zombie sequences I've ever seen. Second season amps them up and adds to that list. It gives you all the zombie tropes you need. The bad guys getting their comeuppance in some really fabulous ways. Final showdowns. A guy running around on a roof being chased by a horde of running zombies. What more could you ask for, man? It's great. If you haven't watched it, it's so worth your time.
Awesome. Thank you. Ryan, anything so far from the chat?
Yes, but 1 second. I'm working on something right now. Sorry. I will tell you in 1 second.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Sarah has joined us, so we'll expect a recommendation for her as well next. But Spencer
The Rocketeer's crotch is all day, every day. There recommends the crotch of the Rocketeer.
A porn
beautiful.
parody.
Well,
The Crotcheteer.
Oh no!
I can think of a good one that I won't say on air. It's
Later.
really
Later.
the simplest
Later.
one you could think of. Yeah.
save it for Slack, Spencer.
One letter.
What am I watching? Nope.
You should watch the latest in the Trip movie franchise, The Trip to Greece. If you're not caught up on it, it's Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan, two English actor, performer, comedians. playing sort of heightened versions of themselves. And this is a series of movies where they basically go, there's these like thin excuses for them to go on these trips and eat at restaurants and chat with each other. And I know it doesn't sound very, is it high concept or low concept? Low concept. But they're so, the things I miss the most right now are like going somewhere other than my house and eating something other than my beans and then having a conversation with somebody face to face. So this came along at the perfect time. And there is like an arc to it. You know, Rob is this guy who can kind of really live in the moment and enjoy himself, while Steve is kind of always up in his head and overanalyzing, and they're drawn to each other and they really annoy each other at the same time. And that comes across in their friendship. So yes, Danielle.
I need to hear more about your beans.
Well, like,
are you doing beans on toast? Like I have to, I'm sorry. This is
how'd you make your beans?
How are you making your beans?
So I'm like, there's a recipe I've been getting into that's all canned food where it's cannellini beans, canned artichoke hearts, garlic, Parmesan cheese, red pepper flake, parsley. I guess the parsley's fresh.
How do you serve that, over rice or over?
Over toast, usually, like a big thing of bread or something like that.
I'm into this.
I find it delightful. It's kind of like, it's basically like a pasta, but replace it with beans. So yeah, there you go. If you're a foodie, if you're hungry, watch this movie. It's just them going from restaurant to restaurant and beautiful town to beautiful town, being served food and doing impressions and trying to make each other laugh.
Oh man, I'm so hungry now.
Hey, you guys are clean. You guys are clean eaters usually. Now that I got I have your attention for a moment, especially Spencer, who cooks a lot of weird vegetarian stuff. Have you ever had nutritional yeast?
Dude, nutritional yeast is so good.
It's so good for you.
The kids,
I put it on popcorn.
Great. You just sprinkle it on. It's like seasoning. Stop it.
Don't do a lot of it.
Yeah, you just sprinkle.
It's supposed to imitate cheese. Cheese tastes like a foot too, but it's a good foot.
No,
you wouldn't.
A foot Tarantino would love.
Yeah.
You wouldn't dump like a whole thing of Kraft, like the powdered cheese on something. It's the same thing. You just kind of sprinkle it.
Yeah.
No. We had a casserole recipe that called for a sprinkling of it.
That's dangerous.
You don't want to mix it in. Casserole.
Don't put it.
Mix
it in. Nooch is good.
I'm going to make a confession to all of us as we're talking about sprinkling it. I can eat it with a spoon. It's very nutty and salty, and these are flavors that but I can also like, what's the Australian? Help me.
Vegemite.
Vegemite tastes good to me. I'm just a weirdo. It's
just a little bit of Vegemite.
Yeah. So Joe Starr, I think that you just need to pull back the amount.
Okay.
Just want to.
Okay, because
taste as you go, Joe Starr. Taste
little of that goes a long way. Yeah.
Boy.
Haberdashery.
just a dash.
Just to have a dash.
Are you still taking a deuce, or do you have some comments for us?
I could do both at the same time. Who says that? Let's see. First off, happy birthday, Jorge. Jorge Ramirez. It's their birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Adam Holbert put his best movies. Bad Education, Invisible Man, and The Platform were his choice for best movies. And
Bad Education was so good. I forgot about that.
We keep wanting to watch The Platform, and we keep deciding that we don't have it in us to watch The Platform.
And that The Platform looks really cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do honorable mentions at the end.
What else they got for us?
May also wants to suggest that if you like Normal People, that it's also a great book that's not very long, and they recommend that. So I did not know that about Normal People. And check it out. And let's see. Oh, and Hombre de California says the ending of Good Place and BoJack also made them cry earlier this year, and they really liked that as well.
Agree. Good Place was so good, you guys, and now it doesn't exist, and I'm sad.
There's something wonderful I was reading about the end of BoJack, and it's just something about like comedy writing and the process and how one little choice can make a huge difference. Like in the last season of BoJack, there are these weird old-timey reporters pursuing BoJack's story, and they're so out of place and so bizarre. And then there was an interview with the writing staff afterwards, and they were like, well, at first they were normal reporters, and it made the whole show a sad, horrible, nightmarish drag, and something had to be fixed. And I just love little comedy tinkering like that. Anyway, move on.
No, that's great.
That's great. You got to change the things that people pay attention to the whole thing instead of going like, oh no, this is now too much and I can't watch any of it.
Yeah, someone in that room stood up and said, what if they were old-timey? And completely changed the season.
Get your puns ready.
We're also getting a lot of She-Ra love in the chat. I was told I have to mention She-Ra.
Yeah, but Danielle, you can talk about that because I haven't watched it yet, but we did an AMA and Danielle did a fantastic interview with the She-Ra showrunner, which you can watch on Fandom, the site. It's there for you. And I will say that we were prepping the interview together and I was playing the role of the, just because for technical purposes, playing the role of the
It was like one of my first
showrunner.
ones, so we were trying to make sure that it was like working right.
Yeah, and just based on the nature of Danielle's question, I was like, I think I have a question for you. Should I be watching She-Ra? Because it feels like I should. So Danielle, should we be watching She-Ra?
Yes, you should be watching She-Ra. Like so much of it, and I will do this without spoilers. So much of it is this idea, and it's something we talk about when we talk about Star Wars a lot. Is we know we really like it, but maybe at some point it doesn't have to be about like destiny. It doesn't have to be like about chosen ones or family or any of that stuff. And what She-Ra directly does is it challenges the notion of like destiny or being the chosen one or being the destined one. And what does that mean? And can that go bad? Is that always necessarily a good thing that you've been chosen? And so it's one of those shows where it does manage to actually talk about really good things in a way that's like it's still a show for kids. It doesn't talk down to them, but it's not like, and here's a bibliography or like here's an index of things for you to research later. But it does talk about like different themes, and yeah, it's really good. And no spoils, but it's also like if you're looking for more cartoons and content that don't that actually give you the gay stuff and don't just make you hope and pray for the gay stuff and then the gay stuff never comes. It's gay, guys. It's super gay.
So
I will add
Korra, if you're talking about Korra, they did give us eventually Korrasami. They did.
Yeah, they got.
No, I wasn't talking about Korra. There's like a bunch of other things. It was like I don't feel like this is
Sherlock.
A spoiler. Yeah, Sherlock. I feel like this isn't like a huge spoiler, but for Adventure Time, they gave us the gay at the very end of the very last episode for 2 seconds. And
yeah,
it's like, guys, come on.
Same with Korra.
Yeah, so this is one of the where there are just like gay characters and stuff throughout the show, and there are definitely ships, and the thing with ships is they do, if the ships come true that you want to come true, then they don't necessarily happen at once because you do need the kind of back and forth, will they, won't they? But yeah, like if it's one of those things where like there's gay in there somewhere, guys, so that's not like you're not imagining things.
Yeah. They did the same thing, to be fair, with Korrasami. We're like right there at the very, very end.
Yeah, it reminds me about like on Law & Order SVU where the DA lawyer chick is leaving and she's like, is it because I'm gay? And I'm like, you have been on the show for like a decade and you have never brought up that you were gay before until literally your like second to last line leaving the show.
Yeah. But anyway, bye. So I'm going to double down. If you guys just want something funny to watch, which I know I do a lot these days in small snackable bites, as they say. Is that what the kids say? They say snackable. I think I hear that a lot in meetings.
Are you saying that this show is a whole snack?
Yeah, I think we only refer to ourselves as snacks these days. I'm calling myself one of the kids. That's a mistake.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm definitely not one of the kids. I will say this, though. What's funny, if you want to, I want to double down on Insecure with Danielle, if you want something funny to watch. And then you have plenty of, if you haven't started watching it, you have a whole bunch you can catch up on, which is great. If you haven't been watching season 2, What We Do in the Shadows, shame on all of us because we haven't done enough to encourage you to do that because it is so funny. And Guillermo the Familiar this is his season. I'm a Nadia fan, but this is his season. And God damn it, he's reading it. That show is like my 30 minutes of pure joy every single week. And they love us so much, you guys, that they gave us their version of the 80s Save the Center ski movie riff. It wasn't skiing, it was volleyball. However, the tropes were present and accounted for.
They were indeed.
Yep.
I love that show. There's if you haven't watched it, a lot of little like big moments have sort of broken and made the mainstream. Like you won't believe who showed up on What We Do in the Shadows, but those things are like the tip of the iceberg for what makes that show so good and worth watching for. Yeah, you should definitely check it out.
Well, especially because I think a lot of people, and I think this is really normal, when something goes from being a movie that you really like because it's like charming and quirky, it's like, can they keep this up for episodes of TV? And it's not just the movie doing movie stuff again. Like there is more to it than just that. It's not just an extended version of something that was, you know, an hour and a half, because most things that are movies should be an hour and a half. It is good and worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, what else you got for us?
All right. Okay. So I talked about, my last one that I'm going to talk about that I really liked. Again, this is another thing that came out this year. I really, really like the Hulu High Fidelity. I liked it a lot. I guess speaking of things where, and this one is not based on the movie, it is, I know, and which got confusing for people because, you know, it stars Lisa Bonet's daughter. So I think it kind of confused people because she was in the original movie. But this one is based on the book, and it's just, there are parts of it that are very familiar, and then there are parts of it where they lean into what is specifically this adaptation of it. And I think like one of the smartest things they did was with Rob. He always felt like, to me, as someone who, I've read that book a million times, I read it after almost every breakup. I've seen that, and then the movie follows. So I really, really love that work, while still being able to see kind of the flaws in it. But I think we were always supposed to think that Rob kind of sucks. Anyway, so
He really sucks.
He sucks, but I think we're supposed to know that he sucks, and that's the point.
Yeah, but when it's John Cusack, it's like, it's cheating.
Yeah, and so the two things: A, yes, it's cheating when John, because he is like a charm machine.
Yeah.
At least there, maybe not in real life, I don't know, but at least in movies, he's a charm machine. And then B, it's also very much like, the movie tries to convince you that Rob is cool, but Rob himself is not cool. And the movies and the TV show are always like, oh, but Rob, or the movie and the book is like, oh, Rob's cool, he's a dick, but he's cool. And this one, it's like, yeah, she's not like great. She doesn't have a lot of the same dickish stuff as Rob, but they also realize, instead of trying to force this dickish, not cool character into being someone who is cool, they're like, oh, it's Zoe Kravitz. She's just gonna be cool. Like, there's nothing she can do. Like, she is just a cool person.
It's a curse.
Yeah, it's I mean,
It's a burden,
you know,
I think.
Her mom was Lisa Bonet. Her dad carries around huge sweaters and phones that connect to nothing. Like, she had no choice. She was going to be the coolest person in the room. But I do think that leaning into, so she's not as, whereas the way that Rob is played by John Cusack is this very yelling, hyper aggressive. She's more chill. She just kind of leans into like her cool. And I really appreciate that. And I like that. And it's again, speaks to my queer girlness. One of her exes is a woman, like one of her big exes. And so, yeah, and it's just, the writing on it is really good and really clever. And again, it's one of those things where it doesn't feel like it's someone trying to stretch out a concept that worked for a book or worked for one movie, because they do add on in ways that feel both organic and feel singular to this. Like I said, I love Emma. You've seen Emma a million times. You know what Emma's not going to get up at her spaceship at the end of the movie and like,
God damn it.
Sorry, spoiler. Emma doesn't go back to her home planet after the adventure is done, after the petticoats have been touched, as you will. But with this, you can't say that you know exactly how this is going to go, because they definitely used the source material as a springing off point to make something that does feel like it's its own. So it's worth watching.
Starr, what do you have for us? And then Ryan, assuming that you have left the restroom at this time, please do prep some more comments and recommendations. Thank you. I got a thumbs up from the chat as we roll out our final ones here. Joe, what am I watching?
I'm gonna celebrate it. It's been a good year or two for teen comedies, especially Netflix has been delivering those really well. Sex Education is great. It's one of my favorite shows of the past couple years. But I wanted to talk about Never Have I Ever. It's super fun. It's about a high school student who is an Indian American and sort of her struggles, whether, dealing with her Indian mother. Her father has passed, and she's been sort of dealing with all this weird trauma because of that. And, it's basically just, you're the weird high schooler trope. but we see all of the things that have gotten her there. And it's really fun, and it's not heavy at all, although it deals with some heavy things. It's narrated by John McEnroe because as a light spoiler, her dad was obsessed with John McEnroe, so he narrates the show.
Me and Roth just made confused dog face at the same time.
Yeah, all of you. And it's really fun and weird, and it works. And all of the characters are really just fun, and I'm saying fun a lot. I'm sorry, it's been a long week.
Sounds fun.
It does sound fun, but I specifically want to shout some love to Porna Jagannathan, who plays her mother. She's so good. She's kind of the quiet MVP of the show, the glue that holds everything together, because she manages to do her role as a comedian in a funny show, but also brace everything together as here is this Indian woman who has had so much taken away. She lost her husband, and as a result, her relationship with her Indian community is weird, and she's losing her daughter because her daughter is very, very, very American and sort of rejecting her roots. And what does that all mean? And there are just a few moments in the show where, with no dialogue or nothing, she just can crush you. She's just a really great actress, and you'll crank through it really fast. It's as Spencer put in my mouth, fun. It's very fun.
Yes, Spencer. God, have it actually.
There are other words besides fun, Spencer.
Yeah, Jesus. Hey, Spencer. We're going to do a rapid fire. Spencer and I are going to give our final recommendations, and then we're going to hear from you guys, and then we're going to say good day to you.
All right. We've talked a lot about Emma today. What if there was a show about if Emma was betrothed to Joffrey from Game of Thrones? And that is the premise behind The Great. It's the somewhat, it puts an asterisk in the title, the occasionally true story of Catherine the Great, who was like a kind of a low-level, I think foreign, like Austrian woman of no like real rank or prestige, who the Emperor Peter plucked out to be his next bride, and she was so excited for it and was going to be the Empress of Russia, and realized that she quickly was married to an absolute psychopath. And it is played with a lot of fun by Nicholas Hoult. As you can see, Catherine is the younger Fanning, Elle Fanning, one of the Fannings.
L.
Little Fanning.
It
Little
makes
Fanning.
me feel very old to see that Dakota Fanning's younger sister is now an adult person.
Ooh, yeah, don't do
Totally
that.
right. So it's the premise is she's basically trapped in this palace and in this marriage, and it's like Emma turning into God, what's another good Game of Thrones character? Not Cersei, but like it's a Sansa story, but with jokes. She's married to this guy who's awful, and she realizes that she needs to. The love for him that she was expecting becomes a love for her country, for Russia, and it's in her best interest to stage a coup. So it's Emma having to stage a political coup of the Emperor of Russia is the way this show goes down. It's a miniseries, 10 episodes.
You just put their marketing for them.
There you go. It's written by the guy who wrote The Favorite, if you like that tone.
And I do.
Yeah.
It's Nicholas Hoult playing Joffrey if he was a foppish comic character.
Yeah.
But
like sociopath.
Yeah, but like sociopath levels, but everything he does is hilarious.
It's a lot like Villanelle. It's like male Villanelle, if you're a Killing Eve fan.
Oh, guys, hop back on board with Killing Eve. Villanelle is worth it. That's it. She just yeah. And it's super gay.
That's true.
Super gay. That's really true. Very gay.
Oh God, I love Villanelle as a character.
I will back Spencer here though, and if there's like one thing you watch out of this video, it's The Great. Nicholas Hoult is gonna win every Emmy he is up for, could possibly be up for. They might give him ones that should have nothing to do with. He might get sound editing. I don't know. It's every episode is just so fun, and they also trick you into being very tied into it. And, this is at first you're just like, this is hilarious. And they trick you into being very deeply invested in what's happening. And it's phenomenal.
Well, I'm going to do one final recommendation. This movie is on Amazon Prime right now. So unlike the First Cow, you don't have to wait for it. But you should keep an eye out for First Cow when it's available for you. This is called The Vast of Night. I talked about it Spencer and I did a look back on Avengers Infinity War and Endgame last week. And we also managed to talk about a million other movies in that video. I don't know. But this movie's great. It's a sci-fi movie available right now on Amazon. This is not sponsored by Amazon. And it's fantastic. It's a small movie. It's basically the construct is that you're within a television show that is like The Twilight Zone. And it's this one contained episode, but so it's really interesting. And some people like this, some people don't. I think I mentioned this before. You're in and out of the world in that sense, but it gives it a contained sense. And it also is one of these, I think I recommended The Guilty for a long time last year, which was a movie that was really, really contained. It was one character who was a police dispatcher. And in that sense, I think it's audacious because this movie also stays on a character for a really, really long time as they tell a story. And it really illustrates the power of great storytelling and a great performance. That's all you need. You don't need, I love flash and I love tricks of camera and I love all that stuff, but you don't need it if you have a really great story. And this works within the construct of the story, which is that it's in the 1950s and there's this two teenagers. She is a telephone operator and he works at the local radio station and is a DJ. And there's this noise, there's this sound that's emitting throughout the town, and they're trying to figure out what it is, and they're going and talking to people and trying to figure out what it is. But there's a moment in this that he just sits there and listens to a man talking to him on his radio show for like 4 minutes, and it is absolutely riveting. I highly recommend this movie, The Vast of Night. And I think, Ryan, what do you got for me? Something more from the chat?
Yeah, there's a couple more recommendations from the chat. I think some of the bigger releases that were at the beginning of the year were getting some love. Francisco Melendez shouts out The Invisible Man and Birds of Prey and The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. And he also shouts out to The Assistant, which is a movie I saw and really enjoyed. And I happen to know a couple of people who worked on the crew for that movie, and they put a lot of heart and soul into that story as well. So I would recommend that. It was a big winner in the per theater charts for a couple weeks in January. The Assistant, really good movie.
That's another Danielle. That'll be right up your alley because I think that's It All Happens in One Day kind of thriller. I think you'll dig it.
Me.
Yep. Rabia Khan also says Pixar's Onward, which was another one of the big releases. I also thought that was a almost underrated Pixar movie just because we expect so much from Pixar movies. And Francisco Melendez says, "Oh, and how could I forget The Great and Miss America? Both amazing." And,
Miss America. That was
and then just a couple of some binge recommendations for people some old shows that people are watching during quarantine. Parks and Rec got some love. Nailed It got some love. Somebody just watched all of Nailed It. I think that was at May. Community also got some love. And then Carlito Lee says for funny binge UK Comedy Central's Threesome, it got 2 seasons. So a good UK show recommendation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to you guys for those recommendations and for contributing and being with us here today. Thank you, Ryan, for keeping an eye on the chat, even in the middle of your very important deuce. I really want to thank Joe, Spencer, and Danielle for being here today, and you guys for sticking with us. We love you very much. We hope you're really safe. We hope you're okay. We have links, like we said, in the description. Danielle, Joe, Spencer, any final thoughts?
I think we slanged the farts.
We did?
We slanged them well.
And if not, Ryan kept on it after we were. So it was good.
On tomorrow's show, top 10 movie farts.
Yes.